We learned this week that the UK's Conservative Party, having spent a goodly proportion of this century demonstrating that they were unable to govern Britain, are also incapable of spelling it.
I can't wait to see where this goes.
Okay. Tell me more.
Let's see where this goes.
We learned this from the wrapping of one of the freebies distributed to the meagre crew of gaunt, cobweb-covered weirdos who turned up at the Tories conference in Manchester, on current trajectory possibly the last such gathering before the one involving queuing resignedly for ladles of tainted Kool-Aid. Specifically, we learned that the proofreading of a wrapper of a conference-branded confectionery may have lapsed towards the lackadaisical.
This is a bar of chocolate, thank you so much, Tories. When Labour negotiates, Britain loses. That is signed by Kemi Badenoch.
We learned that, yes, one reform of Britain that the Conservatives had proved capable of enacting, if only inadvertently, was slightly renaming it from Britain to Britian. Diligent as ever in our research, we at the What We Learned monologue on Monocle Radio put this refinement to a focus group.
Britian.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Great.
Brilliant.
That's
a great idea. Actually,
really nice.
maybe.
Yeah, that's
That's
a good
right.
ring.
That could be something.
Off the tongue.
What about Great Brian?
But even moving away from Great Britain, or if you will, the untied kindgum of Gerat Britian and Neathorn Iridnal, we learned that the global libertarian project was struggling somewhat with reality and indeed melody. We learned this from, yes, Argentina, specifically from Argentina's president, Javier Milei, who launched his latest book by taking the lead singer role in some sort of rock and roll concert.
Oh, no.
Afraid so. Appropriately, indeed possibly inevitably for someone who has always cultivated the haircut and leather jacket of the angry divorcee who plays the Jean-Jacques Burnel role in Buenos Aires' 7th Best Stranglers tribute act, President Milei subjected a crowd large enough to prompt speculation that the doors were bolted on the outside to an hour-long set of Argentinian rock standards, from which we learned that there is an hour's worth of Argentinian rock standards. At least one of which we learned sounds like this, at least when Milei sings it. Mallet. Is the original any better?
Yo que crecí con Videla, yo que nací sin poder.
No, it is not. Anyway, we learned that President Milei was seeking to incite interest in his new book, The Construction of the Miracle, a celebration of his economic plan, which, in absolutely glorious timing, hits the bargain bins just as Argentina has been compelled to seek a $20 billion bailout from the United States. So we learned, or at least surmised, that purchasers of Milei's book may be more likely, and would certainly be better advised, to burn it for warmth than read it. But sticking with the subject of presidents who have published book-length overestimations of their own expertise, we learned that though it may feel like we have, as a species, done little with the last decade or so other than listen to Donald Trump, we should have listened to him earlier.
There's a page in there devoted to the fact that I saw somebody named Osama bin Laden, and I didn't like it, and you got to take care of him. They didn't do it. A year later, he blew up the World Trade Center, so we got to take a little credit because nobody else is going to give it to me.
We learned, however, when we checked back on our copy of the book in question, which did involve extracting it from beneath the wobbly leg of the desk, that is how seriously we take our fact-checking, that this claim may not have been, strictly speaking, true, and may have been, strictly speaking, bollocks. We learned from leafing through our copy of the 2000 published The America We Deserve, quite the fate-tempting title in hindsight. Can I get some general muttered agreement? That while it does contain a single mention of Osama bin Laden, it does not identify him as any singular threat, and nor at any rate was this any particularly piercing insight, bin Laden having been on the FBI's most wanted list since the year prior to publication. In fairness, however, it is difficult to blame Donald Trump for this misapprehension of the contents of The America We Deserve by Donald Trump. It's not like he's ever read it. But we learned that Trump's administration, in its pursuit of America's vicious, ruthless and imaginary enemies within, remains dauntless, and that no member of it is burdened by less daunt than White House Deputy Chief of Staff and almost heartbreakingly inevitable eventual fall guy for all of this nonsense, Stephen Miller.
When in our history have we tolerated unlawful riotous assemblies night after night around FBI buildings or ATF buildings or DEA buildings? This is the textbook definition of domestic terrorism.
When has the United States ever tolerated riotous assemblies around government buildings?
He has just returned to the White House and is signing a series of executive actions in the Oval Office, where he is pardoning some 1,500 January 6 rioters who have been convicted for participating in the attack on the Capitol 4 years ago.
For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Mueller.